Hi, I'm Karl Wellborn, Director here at Wellway Rehab Solutions and Occupational Therapist. And for the purpose of this YouTube series, I will also be the patient undergoing rehabilitation from my team, who I trust more than anyone else, Physiotherapist Peter and our Rehabilitation Lead Assistant, James. So my sporting background is I used to play National League basketball for many years before transitioning to endurance sports. Initially it was running, which quickly led to triathlon and then back into running. I found running while supporting my mum through her cancer treatment. She was undergoing radiotherapy, chemotherapy following surgery, and I would take her to her appointments where there was always a flurry of Runner's World magazines lying around, and one day I'd said to my mum that I am going to try and do a half marathon. Little did I know the obsession running was going to take on my life. Over the years I enjoyed competing, and in 2022 was really when I felt my running world came crumbling down. I'm very competitive, and at that period of time I had run some good performances, some good times, and in the December of 2022 my target was to run the Valencia half marathon running under 2 hours and 20 minutes, ideally 2 hours and 18 minutes. And that was a strong, realistic target that I had. However, in the August prior to the marathon, I experienced pain in my right glute, which unfortunately derailed my whole bid on running a good time, but also has led to an ongoing injury for the past 2.5, nearly just over 2.5 years actually.
And just across Tower Bridge, it's a moment that long lives in your memory if you are a club runner or fun runner. Every time you run over Tower Bridge in the London Marathon, you just feel like $1 million. All you can hear is noise coming at you from both sides of the bridge, plus the fact that it's just such an iconic landmark in its own right, even if there was no one standing there. Very, very special time in the race. And of course, when you've had that.
So we'll skip all the pain that I was in whilst I was running 100 and 120 mile weeks in the bid to run this time in the marathon, and get to January of 2023 when I finally paid for an MRI scan because I knew something was very wrong, which highlighted 6 stress fractures spread between my spine and my pelvis. After some rest, it became quite apparent that the fractures may not actually be the biggest of my issues, as I continue to be in significant pain to the point where I was having to crawl on my hands and knees to get around the house because of pain in my lower back and right hip region. I was obviously doing a lot of physiotherapy at the time. I also saw a sports medic who, in all honesty, wasn't much use for myself. It was actually the November of 2023 I wrote an email into the hospital asking if a labral tear of my right hip had been ruled out, as to me, from what I was reading, everything seemed to be pointing to that as a cause for all these issues. I underwent more scans and it was identified I did have a labral tear with a cam deformity, which means extra bone had grown on my femur, which was in essence reducing the range of movement around my hip, and ultimately which led to the tear. In the Easter of 2024, I paid to see a hip surgeon who identified that I had femoral acetabular hip impingement syndrome, or FAI for short. He suggested I would need surgery to remove or repair the tear, and also, more importantly, to remove this bone that was restricting my range of movement. And here we are, May 2025, a week before my surgery, finally having a plan, having a diagnosis, and hopefully being able to recover and get back to doing what I absolutely love, which is running and competing. How that will look, you're going to find out the same way that I'm going to find out, but we're going to be using the team here at Wellway Rehab Solutions to get me back on track, literally, hopefully. I feel quite nervous for the surgery. I've not really had to have surgery before, just a minor operation when I was 8, so I can't really remember that too much. I guess my biggest fear is that this doesn't work. Although I might appear in high spirits, this has been very draining, exhausting, lots of lows with not many highs whatsoever. I did attempt to come back to running last year before knowing what the actual issue was, and it went okay, but I was just in so much pain. So let's try and remove the pain, get the legs strung, and let's see if we can get back to competing, guys. Hope you enjoy this series. We've never done anything like this before. I've never done anything like this before, so be kind.
Hi, I'm Pete. I'm the lead physiotherapist here at Wellway Rehab Solutions. Today in the clinic we've got Karl, who is 7 days away from his right hip surgery. We've got him here today to do some baseline measures of things like his range of motion and strength and pain levels, and we'll use these measures to compare him post-operatively. He'll then be undergoing a intense period of rehabilitation, and we'll keep you updated with the outcomes.